Thank you for tuning in. Thanks, big part of our program. Here we are together again on the radio. And, well, look at this. John Stossel, co-host of 2020, appeared on Good Morning America. He was talking about his book. It's called Myths, Lies, and Downright Stupidity. The subtitle is Get Out the Shovel, Why Everything You Know is Wrong. Let me quote Stossel from his appearance on Good Morning America. Charles Gibson, the male host of Good Morning America, said, myth, women earn less doing the same work. Stossel, who I've seen on TV as a reporter going back to the 70s, said women earn less but not doing the same work. There's this myth that women earn 78.5 cents for every buck a man makes for the same job. But if that were true, think about it. Employers would hire only women. And all the employers that hired men would go out of business because they'd be paying their workforce too much. The truth is, men are willing to take lousy jobs, work longer, be away from our families. Women make good choices for their families and happiness. They live the best life, and that's why they earn less. And by the way, how many years ago did Tom Leykis say that on the Tom Leykis Show? For how many years have I been saying that on the air? Exactly that. And not only that. See, I didn't do the tough spade work. I mean, the person who really came up with this was one Dr. Warren Farrell of San Diego, who appeared on this program and talked about his book, which I believe is called Why Women Earn Less, or Why Men Make More. I forget the name of the book now, but he was here to talk about it. And he, an original member of the National Organization for Women, a former feminist, had done the due diligence, had gone through the statistics, had gone through the data, and figured out now what John Stossel is appearing on ABC and saying himself. But you see now, there are more and more people who are finally coming to realize that women are not victims. There is no glass ceiling. Women are not being paid less if they are willing to show up at the office the same amount of hours, same amount of days, same amount of weeks every year. If they are willing to accept transfers the way men do. If they are willing to travel, be on the road the way men are. If they are willing to do the same dangerous jobs that men do. Men get killed 7 times more often on the job than women do. I mean, are you surprised that when you average all the wages together, men make more? Men have more dangerous jobs, more demanding jobs. They have to move. They have to travel. And not only that, they don't take paternity leave. I mean, let's face facts. Men show up at the office more. When women leave early because they got to bring little Jimmy a snot rag to school because he's sick, there's some guy at the office there who has to clean up the mess. There's some guy there who has to do her work and his work. Of course men get paid more, and well we should. People always ask me, and I love to talk about this, people always ask me, why aren't there more women on talk radio? Well, one reason is that very few women have ever gotten ratings doing this job. But it's not just because women are raised to be less opinionated, because certainly anybody who's ever been married knows that women are very opinionated. They love to rant and rave and yell and scream. That's not the issue. The issue is that in order to be good at this, you have to have an act. And the way you have an act is the way that comedians used to work their act before television. They would go work comedy clubs in 300 cities. They would go out in front of small crowds night after night after night and build up their act. And in radio, it's kind of the same thing. How many women are willing to move to some of the cities where I've lived? Stanton, Virginia, Albany, New York. How many would like to move to Babylon, New York? Not many. Not many. Every time women talk to me about how to get into radio, the first question they ask is, how can I stay in, fill in the city, L.A., Chicago, New York? How can I stay here? I would just want to stay here. Couldn't I just go to the station and give them a resume? Couldn't I just stay here? No. No, you can't. Because you have no act. And that's why there's less women doing this. When I was in Stanton, Virginia, there were no women there. None. It was all guys. All the disc jockeys were guys. All the news people were guys. Music director was a guy. That was me. The program director was a guy. General manager was a guy. The only chick there was the sales manager, and I think she was boffing the owner of the station. And that was it. In Stanton, Virginia, they just wanted to find somebody who could speak English and show up sober at the right address every day. It's not a hard job to get. I was making $160 a week. I didn't see a lot of women down there lining up to apply for that job. When I left New York City to go to Stanton, Virginia, most of the women I knew, they were just going to keep banging their head against the wall trying to stay in New York. I left New York because I knew I wasn't going to get a job on the radio in New York. It was just that simple. I was not going to get a regular full-time job. I worked for other people. I produced other people's shows. I played characters in other people's shows. I wrote for other people's shows. I did weekends. I filled in. I did 3 a.m. on, my God, a Pacifica station, one of these non-profit stations. I mean, everything. I could not get arrested for a full-time, prime-time slot on a New York City radio station. Because they love the same old people and the same old crap in New York. It's the most reactionary radio market in the world, one of the most reactionary places in the world that is under this delusion they're the center of the universe. So I left town and became fabulously successful and wealthy after I was willing to work in some small towns and develop an act, which I did. You're listening to it now. Here I am at work. I just want to say that, men and women get the money they deserve. All of us are getting paid what we deserve, folks. If women are getting paid less than men do, it's because that's what they deserve. Oprah Winfrey doesn't get paid less than anybody. Oprah Winfrey makes more money than anybody who hosts a television program, period. Where's the glass ceiling there? She owns the production company that produces her show. She makes, if you believe Forbes magazine, about $140 million a year. But what did Oprah do? Oprah came from Baltimore, where she did the news. She was an anchor on the news in Baltimore. Oprah worked her way up. She learned broadcasting. She had a college degree. She came to Chicago and did a little local TV show called AM Chicago that eventually became the Oprah Winfrey Show. She didn't get married. She didn't have kids. She showed up at work every single day. She got what she deserved. You'll never hear me say one catty thing about Oprah Winfrey. I respect her. She did what had to be done, and the reason she is successful and other women aren't is because other women are not willing to do the things Oprah did, not willing to make the sacrifices she made. Everybody listening to me right now is making exactly the salary they deserve. I'm so tired of hearing people sniveling about this. I'm tired of it. So now we had Dr. Warren Farrell. Now you have John Stossel, the ABC News reporter. And you've had me for years telling you the same thing. Women make less, and they deserve to make less. Don't you agree?
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM.
The only thing God did, he screwed up with a woman, gave her a brain.
Are you suggesting on a woman a brain is like tonsils? They don't really do anything. You can have them removed?
Yeah.
The Tom Leykis Show.
Myth. Women earn less doing the same work. women earn less but not doing the same work. There's this myth that women earn 78.5 cents for every buck a man makes for the same job. But if that were true, think about it. Employers would hire only women, and all the employers that hired men would go out of business because they'd be paying their workforce too much. The truth is, men are more willing to take lousy jobs, work longer, be away from our families. Women make good choices for their families and happiness. They live the best life, and that's why they earn less.
Send your mail to John.
There you go. John Stossel on Good Morning America. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Before we get to your phone calls, you've probably been hearing about a new technological development in the radio business called HD radio. And a number of broadcasters have banded together to provide new HD radio programming. So each station has a second station on the same frequency that you can only hear with an HD radio. And as you've probably heard, HD radio provides crystal clear clarity, a new dimension in sound, and these radios are available at a variety of retailers. Now, many people have been asking me, you know, what are you going to do to utilize this new technology? And we've been working on that. And we finally have we've come up with some special programming for those of you with an HD radio. By the way, you have to own an HD radio to hear what I'm about to play for you in its full entirety, in its clarity. I mean, it is a broadcasting breakthrough that is going to revolutionize the radio industry. And I am fully behind HD radio. So for those of you who have purchased an HD radio, we now have some special programming just for HD radio owners. Now, if you would like to be able to hear what we're about to play and enjoy it to its maximum potential, you'll have to purchase an HD radio. So for those of you who have purchased an HD radio, now we interrupt our program for some special HD radio programming to demonstrate the full effect of HD radio. So if you have your HD radio, please turn the volume up right now so you can hear our special HD radio programming. Never before have I heard clarity like that. By the way, this weekend on 97.1 KLSX on their HD2 frequency, they're going to have live ping pong championships on the air. You'll want to tune in for that this weekend. Utilizing the full clarity, the full digital potential of HD radio. Listen to the clarity here. Amazing. Gary, do we have $400 lying around? Would you go out and pick up one of these radios? We got to get one of these. It's amazing. I've never heard anything like that. All right. HD radios are available at a variety of retailers. Go right in and pick one up. I mean, if you don't have an HD radio, you really missed what we just played. It was amazing. That's the kind of compelling programming you can expect to hear with that new digital clarity. It's just mind-boggling. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. We now return to regular programming, and we say hello here to Brenda on the Tom Leykis Show.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Brenda. How do you like that HD radio, by the way?
I don't have it.
Did you hear that little test we just did there?
Yes.
That was amazing.
It's very compelling.
Yes. Yes, if I were you, I'd run right out and buy one of those radios immediately. What can I do for you?
Well, I would like to hear the statistics on women that don't have children and how much they earn compared to men, because it sounds like they're a group that gets screwed because they're willing to do all the nasty things and move to places and relocate and not take time off for their children, and they still earn less.
I don't see evidence that they're earning less.
I would have to see the statistics on that. Is that part of that study that you...
Well, if you read Dr. Warren Farrell's book, and I know nobody likes to read books anymore, so I'm wasting my time even suggesting it. But the book, I believe it's called Why Men Earn More, or Why Women Earn Less, but, you know, it's same difference. In there, he tracked all the reasons why they say women earn less. One of the reasons is that they average together the salaries of various people, including teachers, construction workers, what have you. Now, what's a more dangerous job, being on the girder of a 70-story building or going in and teaching a second grader how to read?
Well, why aren't women doing those dangerous jobs? Is it because they're not hired for them, because they're not desirable on the job, or is it because they refuse to do it? That's an important...
Well, there are women who do those jobs, just not many of them. You know, for example, fire departments and police departments. They have gone to great lengths. You've probably seen billboards around town or heard ads on TV and radio. They are actively trying to recruit minorities and women. There's just not a lot of women who want to do those jobs.
Well, it's partly because people feel comfortable around what they're used to.
Well, whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. The fact is that city governments have laws they have to live by. Most of them are forced to celebrate diversity at the end of the barrel of a gun. And so they are doing handstands. They're doing backflips, trying to get women and minorities to take these jobs.
It's funny because I taught ethics for 4 years, and what subject do you think that people would get most hot about? People got hottest about affirmative action. They got the most hot-headed, the most irrational, the most emotional about affirmative action when we were discussing things like abortion and capital punishment and suicide. They got most hot-headed about affirmative action. I found that very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's true. And let's face it, the main reason women don't get paid the same as men is because they take less dangerous jobs. They don't want to work lousy hours or long hours, and they don't want to move or be transferred anywhere. They don't want to travel.
Women without children probably do all
No, but you see, the thing is, you average all the women together. Like I pointed out, Oprah Winfrey makes $140 million a year, and David Letterman earns less than $40 million, okay?
Well, that's just anecdotal evidence. That's just one person. I mean, if you average all the people together, then...
anybody who wants to put in the same hours, anybody... I have challenged people to prove to me with pay stubs that they are making less than anybody else who does the exact same work, same number of hours, same amount of experience.
Well, you need a new study then with those...
Here, I don't need a new study. Take a look at the book. It's called Why Men Earn More by Dr. Warren Farrell.
Did you read it?
Yes.
Well, then is there a study with
Dear, I'm not going to read you the book. You go get the book. Read it.
One individual fact.
I can't believe how lazy people are. I'm like Domino's Pizza. People call in here, and they want the information delivered hot and fresh in less than 30 minutes. How about you read a book?
Oh, right.
If you're that interested, yeah, we need new studies. We don't need new studies. There's studies in this book. I'll tell you what, after you've read these studies, once you are capable of telling us what was wrong with the specific methodology of the research, then we can talk about the new studies we need. You haven't read this research yet.
I've read the book.
You know what, dear? If you're that interested in the subject, you should read it.
That's what I'm saying. I'll call back after I've read the book, and we can have another discussion.
Yeah, well, we can finally have a discussion because you don't know what you're talking about. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. It's Chris on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
Great.
I'm just calling. I live in Phoenix, Arizona now, but I am originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Nobody cares.
Oh, come on now.
Nobody cares, dear. Nobody. Except other Guidos and Yutzes from Brooklyn. Nobody cares.
I'm not a Guido, honey.
Whatever
I'm
you
a
are.
Latina.
Whatever you are. Guido, Guidette,
But I'm
whatever.
I want to know, why do you call New York the toilet city of America?
I'll tell you what. Get yourself a Metro card, go down into the subway, and take a whiff.
Excuse me, I lived there all my life.
I lived there for 25 years. Get a Metro card. And by the way, I just came back from there on Sunday. I have a Metro card in my wallet. Get a Metro card. Go down on the New York subway and take a whiff.
Big deal. So what?
That's what you asked why I called it. Why I called it a toilet, and that's why. Because it smells like a toilet, now you're admitting it.
No, it's not. I'm not admitting it. I said it smells like it, but I'm not admitting it.
So you admit, though, that the subway smells like a toilet.
Yeah, so it smells like it.
It's the world's longest urinal. Yes.
And so you're so sour about New York because you probably couldn't hang with the big boys.
Yeah, I couldn't. Dear, I am a multi-millionaire, and I can buy and sell most of the people on the radio in New York.
I know you are. And so is Howard Stern, who did it really well.
Name another one.
Bubba the Love Sponge?
He's on satellite radio. And by the way, he's not a multi-millionaire, dear.
Now he is.
No, he's not.
Now he's on satellite radio.
He's not a multi-millionaire, dear.
Oh, yes, he is.
And he never, ever worked at a radio station in New York City. Ever.
I didn't say he worked in New York City. He worked in Chicago. He worked in Clearwater, Florida.
Oh, boy. What, are you having sex with him or something? You sound awfully interested.
No. I'm just trying to stand up for New York. That's all.
No, dear, if New York was so wonderful, you wouldn't be calling from Phoenix. You'd be there in the pig slop with the rest of the swine.
I moved here for personal reasons because my father passed away, okay?
So
that's the only reason why I moved here, to take care of my mom. All right?
Why don't you bring her back to New York? It's the center of the universe. Take her back there.
Tom, I just called to say I love you. I agree with you.
I know you do, dear.
99% of the time.
Except when I talk about New York, then you get pissed at me.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but I left New York because it's a toilet. That's why I left, a toilet bowl.
I love you, Tom.
Thank you, darling.
Stop care of Phoenix.
I appreciate the call.
1-800-5800-TOM.
From what I gather, you're saying they're sluts if they sleep with you and they're bitches if they don't.
Yes, actually, that comes from the Tom Leykis glossary.
The Tom Leykis Show.
From Los Angeles, it's the Tom Leykis Show. At 1-800-5800-TOM. And in case you're just tuning in, we heard a quote earlier that sounds an awful lot like stuff I've been saying on this show. And also an awful lot like what Dr. Warren Farrell said in his book. And also on this program, a book called Why Men Earn More. And this is an exchange between Charles Gibson, the anchor of Good Morning America, and reporter John Stossel.
Myth. Women earn less doing the same work.
Women earn less, but not doing the same work. There's this myth that women earn 78.5 cents for every buck a man makes for the same job. But if that were true, think about it. Employers would hire only women, and all the employers that hired men would go out of business because they'd be paying their workforce too much. The truth is, men are more willing to take lousy jobs, work longer, be away from our families. Women make good choices for their families and happiness. They live the best life, and that's why they earn less.
Send your mail to John.
And I believe that Brett was exactly right. That last line from Charles Gibson, send your mail to John, is an example of how pussified TV shows are. And Charlie Gibson all worried that the chicks who watch Good Morning America are going to be all upset about what John Stossel said. But let me ask Warren Farrell this question. That comment from John Stossel, was he reading directly from your book, or was he paraphrasing?
He was either reading directly from it or paraphrasing, but basically the message is the same. And when he did a TV show on Why Men Earn More, and when he did the show, one of the things that he mentioned during the interview was that he was really that part of it, my book, very very much struck him, meaning that when I said that when I was on the board of Now, I was wearing this 59-cent pin years ago that says when I assumed that the reason that women earned 59 cents to the dollar for the same work as men was discrimination. And then I asked myself the question, wait a minute, if that's true, maybe I'll start an all-female business, because then I could make for 59 cents what other people were making for $1, and I'd obviously put all the male businesses out of business. And I just couldn't figure out why anyone would hire a man if they had to pay him $1 to do the same thing that a woman would do for 56 cents and 59 cents in those days and 76 cents today. So it just made no sense to me. But I thought maybe there was some fundamental undervaluing of women that was going on by male bosses. So I said, all right, how can I test that one out? And so I thought, all right, what I can do is find out if male bosses are discriminating against women, who are women that don't have male bosses? Those are women who own their own businesses. So I looked at women who own their own businesses and compared them to men who own their own businesses. And in those days, women who owned their own businesses earned only 29% of what men who own their own businesses earned. Today, it's up to 49.5%. So it's basically half of what men who own their own businesses earn. So what I began to see is that women and men make different choices about what they want out of life. And I was wondering whether that was really reflected in reality, or whether women knew that. And so when the Rochester Institute of Technology interviewed women and asked them, what do you most want out of owning your own business? And these are all women with MBAs now, compared to men with MBAs, all of whom own their own business. 29% of women said money was the primary issue, versus 76% of men said money was the primary issue. And when the women were asked what did they care about, they said they wanted flexibility, they wanted time with the children, they wanted freedom from a boss, they wanted to be their own, have autonomy, flexibility, and being able to sort of work when they wanted to work, that type of thing, and be close to home. And so you get what you're. So as I got more and more into it, I found that there were 25 measurable differences between what men and women do in the workplace, in their work-life choices, actually, and that every single one of those work-life decisions leads to men earning more money than the average woman, and every single one of the female decisions, though, leads to her having, on average, a better life. And so what I'm saying to women is, this is really great news for you. Don't become imitation men. Men can learn as much from women, because what's more important, earning money or a better life? Obviously, earning money is the subset of a better life. It's the means to the end of a better life. And if you're not having a better life, then reconsider and learn from women the types of work-life decisions that they're making.
And let's face it, in order to get a woman, you have to be making money. That's pretty much the way that works. I don't know a lot of women who want to be with men who make less money than they do.
The man who reads "I'm okay, you're okay" on the unemployment line doesn't find a line of women behind him.
No doubt about it. Now, also interesting, I think one of the most compelling things you say is the fact that American businesses would go out and hire more women if only to save money. Let's face it, how many American businesses have outsourced to other countries? India,
precisely,
Pakistan, Bangladesh. I mean, they go around the world trying to find people who make less money. You've got that big, educated labor force of people being discriminated against who you can pay less money. Why not hire all of them?
Precisely, and if women, feminists would say, well, the men just don't value women enough. But then, fine, women who own their own businesses hire all the women. If male bosses are so stupid, you as a female boss hire all women and outproduce men. But that's not happening, and it's not happening because feminists are blind to their willingness to admit that there's a different set of balancing acts that go on there. When men are more willing to take the hazardous jobs, they're more willing. When the more children arrive, when children arrive, men and women make very different decisions. When there's no children, when you look at never married women who have never had children, and you compare them to never married men who have never had children, it's the never married women who have never had children that earn 117% of what the never married men who have never had children earn. So in other words, the never married women out-earn the men by 17%. And so and that's because never married women who have never had children are more likely to make decisions that are similar to the traditional male decisions. Never married men who have never had children don't feel so much pressure to earn more money. Therefore, they're more likely to take jobs like teaching in social studies or art or writing, or if they're upset with their job, they're more likely to quit. They have freedom to earn less. So the words freedom to earn less are a phrase that is not often used, but when you think about it, it's single men, or men who, especially if they don't plan to have children, that have that freedom to earn less money.
What about this term glass ceiling? Is there such a thing?
There is and there isn't, meaning that there isn't in the tradition. There is such a thing as the boys' network, or the boy, sort of men. There are three things about male-male communication that make men more comfortable with it. Men, if you and I were friends growing up, Tom, what we would put each other down constantly. You'd find some weakness in me, I would find some weakness in you, and so the commerce of male adolescence is the trading of wood-covered put-downs. And what we're doing with each other is we're teaching each other how to be able to handle all the criticisms that life will give us. And we know, without being able to articulate this, you and I know that criticizing each other, being able to handle that criticism, is a prerequisite for becoming successful. And so, but if a woman is on a conference call with us or in a meeting with us, and we criticize and put her down in the same way as you and I would criticize each other, she will think of it as harassment or discrimination. You and I will sort of intuitively sense that that's part of the jabbing and the back and forth that teaches us how to become successful. Secondly, we're a lot more likely to be comfortable telling dirty jokes and talking about sex, and we're fearful that when a woman is in our company, that will be misinterpreted and move into a different category of legal sexual harassment problems. And thirdly, we're far more likely to make sports analogies. And so for those types of reasons, men at the top tend to be more comfortable with each other. Having said that, there's the opposite of once they get past about $100,000 in income, depending on where they live in the country, they start making a different set of decisions. They no longer care after that $100,000, most women, about more money. They care about having more time. They want more time for meditating, for their friends, for their religion, their spirituality, for their children, for their husband, and mostly for themselves, and also for themselves. And so they start putting their life into balance once they earn $75,000 to $125,000 a year, depending on where in the country they live. And so therefore, those women are not willing to do what it takes to become at the top of any company, which is usually 80 to 95-hour work weeks for 20 years or so before being offered a CEO-ship of a major company. And then once you become the CEO of a major company, you're doing another 90 hours a week. It's not a psychological checkout job. You're basically always working. My wife works very hard. She goes to bed, starts one sentence, and she literally has finished that sentence when she wakes up in the morning because she's so involved in her work. And so it's when you're a CEO or at the top and you're breaking that glass ceiling, that's the way your life is. Most women are smart enough to know that a life like that usually leads to being psychologically divorced, usually leads to your children not knowing you, usually leads to the other person feeling unloved, and you're providing income for your children to go to psychologists to complain about you, for your wife to have affairs, and to be sort of providing income but being emotionally discarded in life. And so, again, many times the women are making very intelligent choices not to be at the very top of companies, but then let's not also complain about it. Let's acknowledge women for making good choices.
Dr. Warren Farrell, his book is called Why Men Earn More: The Startling Truth Behind the Pay Gap and What Women Can Do About It. And his website, by the way, is warrenfarrell.com.
1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866.
Yeah, I don't believe that chivalry's dead. I just think it's wounded. I'll open a door for a woman, but by the same token, I'm expecting something in return.
Yeah, see, I open a door for a woman if I think she's about to unzip my fly.
It's the Tom Leykis Show.
Mike, you're on the Tom Leykis Show. We got about 30 seconds.
Welcome back to Phoenix, Tom.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, I'm a union iron worker. There's just not women that want to get in the trade. We've got like 2 out here in Phoenix, a couple hundred men. If they want in, they can get in. They do the apprenticeship. They get paid the same we get paid. You're 100% correct, all your topics.
Yeah, women just don't want to do dangerous jobs, dirty jobs, jobs that force them to travel or take risks.
Touch on whether or not they can do the same quality work that we can do, you know. I mean, they try. They try to do a good job. But
can't get the job done. Yeah, I know. Our email address is my name. It's tom@blowmeuptom.com.
The Tom Leykis Show.